Yeah.
Hello. Here we are. Week 2 of The Sick Man. I am your sick man, your host, Alex, the Asian Adam Silver. Happy holidays to you guys listening and to the 5 GMs. How are we feeling? How has your break been so far?
I'm speaking on behalf of the 2 undefeated teams. The only other person I'll listen to is Wildy. We are feeling great. We had an amazing break, had an amazing time watching some basketball. You know, we're both doing amazing. So, undefeated, baby, never lost. In the words of LeVar Ball, never lost. Don't know what losing is.
I need some sunglasses too, man. I feel, I'm a part of the club without sunglasses. Maybe I'll get some later.
It's fine. I mean, I don't even know why the others are here. It's just me and you today, Wildy. Everyone else can just get out of the way. Like,
absolutely.
And in the words of Kobe, ISO, just us two.
LeBron figuring it out. How's the rest of the GMs feeling?
I think that means get the hell out of the way. Get the hell out.
Not gonna lie, I was a bit bloated after Christmas dinner, probably looking a bit too much like James Harden, but probably
What? Do you know what?
Matt had too many thighs. God,
that's great.
Matt, I absolutely love that. You know why? Because it's like you can see my structure. So last week we discussed the Atlantic and the Pacific. This week we are going to talk about the Southwest and the Central. And who is the first team up? Yes, it's Mr. Santa Claus himself, James Harden. Okay, so we are going to go to Bandwagon Bray.
Whoa. Salt Bray. Remember, we changed his name to Salt Bray.
Yes, we did.
Always salty.
This time of year, he's Ebenezer Scrooge, because he's a lot of slander from week 1. Hopefully, you're going to be a bit more cheerful this week, Bray. So tell me about the Houston Rockets this week.
Yeah, I definitely am more cheerful. In the past 4 days, I've been consistently keeping my blood alcohol high. So,
Is that a beverage there?
Yeah, continuing that trend. I think we'll go all the way through to New Year's and see 2020 behind. But the Houston Rockets, it's mixed feelings on the Houston Rockets. No one's been particularly kind to them. They got absolutely smashed from the power rankings this week. The NBA thought they were crap. However, they are 0-2, and that's peculiar because most of the teams have played 4 games. And they haven't. They had 1 game cancelled due to COVID. They've been missing 4 players, Wall, Cousins, and Gordon included, who are arguably 3 of their top 5, have all been out for these first 2. So what can you really tell? It's difficult. They had an OT loss to the Blazers, and CJ McCollum had the game of his life. That man went off. He just didn't miss. And the ridiculous thing is, he had 44 with 2 free throws. 2.
Wow.
That's insane. James Harden also had 44. He had a lot more free throws. That's what he does. In these 2 games, interestingly, he's averaging 39, 12, and 5. So, he's doing bits despite being out of shape. I think we would all agree. And star for the Rockets as well, Christian Wood, 27 and 8. He's been balling, just got a massive contract. He was an undrafted rookie. There's been obviously a few stories popping up about that. Look at him now, and he's been balling out in these first 2. In their loss to the Nuggets, they went up against Jokic, who had again game of his life.
Sort code.
18 and 12.
Sort code. Shout out to my man Ultra. Sort code.
Yeah, literally, that's not a stat line. It's his sort code. It's ridiculous. Look, they've got Sacramento up next, twice at home, and they've got rest in between, and then they've got the Mavs at home as well. They're 3 potentially tough games. You see them getting at least 1, probably 2 out of those 3, and putting them a little bit back on track for the season. They're also getting Wall and Gordon and Cousins back
Okay.
this game as well. So looking forward to seeing what their team actually looks like.
So it's going to be some boogie nights ahead. Bray, little question I want to ask is that they're getting really good production out of Harden, obviously, and Christian Wood is producing on the stat line. What do they need to do to win?
I think they just need to keep playing. They need to keep listening to the coach. Stephen Silas, or was that his dad?
Ooh.
I think it is
It's
Stephen
not
Silas.
Bickerstaff. No, that Bickerstaff isn't there.
No, JB. It's not JB Bigstaff.
No, it's Stephen Silas. I can't remember because his dad was a coach as well. I might be getting his name wrong. But anyway, they need to keep listening to the coach.
It is Stephen Silas. You are correct.
Yeah. And they need to keep listening to him, keep playing for him, and keep leaning on James Harden. That man is a walking playoff berth. And yeah, I appreciate there's been a lot of trade rumors, but I think he just needs to get down and play. That will pan out later in the season as we see it. But he's got a lot of time left on his contract. If I'm the Rockets, just get that man out there and get him getting buckets, and you'll win games.
How long until James Harden's out there do you think he ends the season with the Rockets?
You know what? Surprisingly, I think he does, because I don't see anyone wanting to take him on. I think the asking price is going to be too high, and I think that, you know, no matter how well he plays, it's such a big move. You have to give up so much for a player like James Harden, especially the way he's playing. It's not like he's come out and you know, really done nothing in the first 2 games. He is on fire, and no one's talking about it because we're so used to it. It's just who he is.
Absolutely. And on top of that, Bray, I want to say, in terms of that Trailblazer game, a lot of the time we knock Harden for how clutch he is and what he does in the final minutes. He made Portland work for that win. He hit 2 threes back-to-back to get them ahead in that game. I mean, it's such a shame because, you know, obviously they ended up losing it, so no one's going to remember. But he did bits in the final minutes there, which we're not used to seeing him do. So he's actually playing a little bit better than we expect, even if everything was normal.
Do you know who else turned up in that game that I'd never heard of? Is a player called Jay Sean Tate. Made some big plays for the Rockets down there.
Did you say Jay Sean?
Jashawn. Not Jay Sean.
Jay Sean.
It's not Jay Sean from Hounslow. No. It's not Baby Are You Down, Down, Down. No. That
was the first #1 hit in the US recorded by an English artist, that song.
Young Money Baby.
That long.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah. But it had Weezy on the track, so it helped. And Wayne was definitely like the biggest star in America at the time, so it's a bit of a trick, but
Yamula baby.
Weezy,
baby. Well, the man on the mic with some good insights there, and we're actually going to head in first. But, you know, I put people on blast last week. I'm going to do it again because, you know, I've got the time on my hands. So as I said, you know, bandwagon Bray, Jordan 03 didn't have names. Mr.
House of 03, baby.
Mr. Wildsmith
That's
still
a sick
has
name. House of 03 is a sick name.
Exactly.
I love that, by the way.
Yes, that's outrageous. Have I got a good Bray nickname or a bad Bray nickname or a good Jordan nickname coming?
Salt Bray, love it.
Anyway, Wildy still hasn't come up with a nickname, so I was thinking, what can I do? Well, this man, you know, his connection's not always as great, so you know, I've gone with bad Wi-Fi Wildy. As you can see on the router, he's only got 1 bar. It probably should be 0.
1 bar Wildy.
Typical difficulty.
Yeah, so that's what we're going for. So, you know, 1 bar Wildy. You have the Mavs in the Southwest. They went 1-2 this week. Tell me about how Dallas, Texas is doing.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's been a bit of a tricky start for them. You know, they had that close game against the Suns, which was only decided by 3 points in the end. I think when they spoke to Luka after the game, he was talking about how he needs to get better at shot selection in those close moments. But honestly, I just think that's him being a leader and taking onus as somebody that's leading them in points, assists, and rebounds. But honestly, I watched that game and he was making all the right decisions. The turning point really was they went to double Luka. He made the right pass to Maxi Cleaver. And instead of keeping the rotation going, Maxi just threw up a shot and it didn't go in. So the ball's going the other way. And Devin Booker draws a foul, and then it is sort of game over, really. So I think that Luka's doing all the right things. They're not a very young core. Their average age is 27, so that's actually fourth oldest average age of the team. So they should have a good enough experience that they shouldn't be making these little mistakes in pivotal moments. And then, you move on to the Christmas Day game. The whole hype was LeBron v. Luka. So, LeBron is strapping up and giving it his all. And unfortunately, like all the Christmas games, Mavs and Lakers was not close at all. Luka and LeBron actually went toe for toe on the score sheet. Both actually had the same amount of points, 36, I believe it was. Give or take 2 points. Sorry if I'm wrong on that one. But yeah.
You see that fade LeBron gave him? That little post move?
Yeah,
was disgusting.
Absolutely. It was disgusting. I was, when
he was like, your time's coming.
Yeah, absolutely, but not yet. LeBron's tired of hearing it's, his last season and, this is the next thing in the league. LeBron is always just shushing and doing what he does. But, and then, the headline though, they went 0-2. They're going into this game against the Clippers. They don't have Kawhi, and oh my God, what the hell was that? I had the game on in the background whilst doing other bits, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I mean, I'm sure by the time we put this up, everyone's going to know NBA record, deficit of 50 points by the Clippers at the halftime. Third quarter, Clippers make a little bit of a run, and Rick Carlisle did an amazing job with those guys and said, hey, let's not, we might have this game won, but let's smack them in the mouth. They came out in the fourth and ended up winning by 51. So, look, I mean, you can trash the Clippers all you want for what happened there, but ultimately, there's a really good output by the Mavs there, and it just shows what they can do. I'm really excited.
As the guy who's got the Clippers, yikes, that was a tough watch. The only positive is that it is only one game. That is the only real positive you can take from it. And gosh, it was really bad to watch. But credit to the Mavericks. And I think the key thing that you mentioned is Rick Carlisle. Like, Rick Carlisle is a straight up boss. He does not give any fucks. He will go for your throat, which is a great positive that the Mavs have in there. Love Rick Carlisle.
Absolutely. He's tied second, most longest standing coach. You've got Greg Popovich first, Eric Spoelstra second, and then a month later after Spoelstra, Rick Carlisle gets hired, and he's been there ever since. And whatever their roster's been, they've been absolutely fantastic. I think the last thing with these Mavs is last season, whenever the game was close towards the end, they were 10-19 when there was a 3-point spread. So with somebody as good as Luka, they should get better at closing. But that's something they need to look at, because that was their weakness. If they solved that midway through last season, they would have been a lot better. And this is one of the reasons why I picked them first, because I know if they sort that out, then they're going to be a serious contender. And hey, if there's anyone to sort it out on the floor, it's going to be Luka. And I like my chances with Rick Carlisle.
Two questions for you, Wildy. In the second game, the Lakers out-rebounded the Mavs 53-27.
Yes.
Lakers got 17 offensive boards. How are they doing without Kristaps? Are they missing him?
Certainly missing him. It's another 7-footer. You'd like his chances up against AD. I still think AD would win that matchup, but you got to know that with another 7-footer out there that can spread the floor. I mean, I don't want to go too crazy with this, but you could almost call Porzingis a poor man's AD. Maybe a little bit more offensively aggressive than AD, but AD definitely wins on the defensive side of things. So they're definitely missing him. I think that they don't lose to the Suns. If they have him, I love the Suns. I've also picked them, but I'm just talking truth here. And you just got to know.
Seems like the Mavs are your favourite child.
No. What am I draped in right now, sir? Please, undefeated. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're definitely missing things. It's just so many things that he brings. Spreads the floor. He can shoot in the post. and another long 7-footer that's going to do it. We just want to get him back on the floor. Which, oh, by the way, he was edging to get on the floor for that Clippers game. He was talking to head office saying, like, I want to get in, I want to play. They said, no, look, not yet. You keep getting injured, so let's not rush this, please. And so, yeah, we're being careful about bringing him back, but he's ready. He wants to be there.
I like that. I like that desire. And also, Josh Richardson, I saw in the first game against the Suns, he hit probably the most crazy toilet bowl shot I've ever seen in my life. The ball went around the rim like 7 or 8 times. If you guys haven't seen it, make sure you go check it out. How is Richardson playing in the starting unit? How is he fitting in?
He's fitting in very, very well. As I said when I picked them, I definitely think that was a win for them picking him up because they get better defense and maintain the 3-point shooting that Seth Curry last year was able to provide for them. Rick Carlisle, again, I keep talking about Rick, but it's so important because he's been there so long. They have always, more often than not, other than 2 times in the whole of Rick's tenure, they've been in top 5 of 3-pointers taken, even though they're one of the franchises that maybe isn't mentioned amongst the Golden States and the Houston Rockets for leading that 3-point charge in terms of volume of shooting them. So, they're not going to be changing that, and then getting Richardson there is brilliant. I mean, he had a tough turnover in that Suns game, which also sort of slid over to the win again for the Suns. But look, I mean, it's one mistake. It's early on in the season, and look, he's doing well for them. I like him a lot. He's good rotation, good big body, and he's going to do well for them.
Nice.
Alex, do you see that?
No. Seth Curry knows how to make shots.
Yes, sir.
Just quickly, we played the Raptors last night. Embiid gets doubled in the post, kicks it out to Seth Curry. Nobody's not making that shot before. Not Tobias, not Danny Green. Seth Curry makes it. That's the first I've seen of a Sixer actually making a shot that matters. So no, I don't miss him. But I hope he does well. And he's a big Arsenal fan, which is quite cool. I like that. Yeah, he's pumped about that. Arsenal finally winning some games. So yeah. So let's head down to the birthplace of Mr. Elvis Presley and Justin Timberlake. Let's head down to Memphis, Tennessee, baby. How is the Grizzlies doing? 1-2 this week. Matt, again, maybe we need to change the home court. I know you like the Triple A, but maybe we need to mix up the home court each week. Tell me how the Grizzlies doing.
Yeah, it feels that every time you come to me, there's just bad news going on with my team. So obviously I had the issue with the Warriors last week, and the elephant in the room with the Grizzlies is Ja Morant, isn't it? He's out now for the next 3 to 5 weeks. He's had a I believe it's like a slight medium ankle sprain, medium grade, something like that. So yeah, he's going to be out for the next 3 to 5 weeks. That's a lot of games he's going to miss. And yeah, obviously in terms of our record, started with defeats against the Spurs and the Hawks. Morant getting a career high of 44 points in the first game, 9 assists as well, shooting 66% from the field. He was the actually only player who had he was plus 10 when he was on the court. Only player who had positive numbers in terms of whilst he was on the court for the whole of the Grizzlies side. And yeah, but then you contrast that to obviously he gets injured against the Nets and they play well without him. Granted, the Nets didn't have KD and Kyrie. That's a huge factor in that. But they still came through, won in overtime. Valanciunas played well, got 14 points, 14 rebounds. The only issue is that it looks like after Ja got his injury, Tyus Jones came on to replace him for the rest of that game. And I believe he only got 9 points. So with the next 3 to 5 weeks that Ja Morant's going to be out for, how's that going to look? That's my only concern.
Ja, in that first game, beat Shaq's record as the most points scored in an opening game by he was the youngest player ever to do it, which is absolutely nuts. Yeah. In reference to the Hawks game, Wildy and I watched this. I think I may have watched this with Ed. I think actually, I've watched it with Bray as well. A lot of us watched this. Valanciunas tried to throw that game. He was awful in that game. He was missing rebounds. He was making really bad fouls. I mean, they kept switching Trey on him, and he was butter. He was killing him.
Oh yeah.
I want to ask you, Matt, about Mr. Slow-Mo, if you know who that is. Mr. Carl Anderson, not the nicest hairline, but he's been balling for them.
Right.
What do you see in Carl Anderson moving forward, especially in the next 3 to 5 weeks that Jar is out?
Yeah, definitely. Like, even against the Hawks, he picked up 20 points, 14 boards. Good performance there. And then, yeah, with Jar being out for the majority of the game against the Nets, he goes and gets 28 points. Like, it seems that he's put the team on his back a little bit there in terms of the point scoring. Hopefully can do that going forward for the next 3 to 5 weeks. Fingers crossed he can do that, but Jar's a big miss. But see what happens with Kyle Anderson. Right.
Matt, so I want to ask you about a guy in the starting lineup, a guy who looks like someone out of Lion King 2, Dylan Brooks. Somebody help me out with the guy's name in Lion King 2. He
It's
looks exactly
Nuka.
like Nuka.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
gonna
a
switch him up.
crazy lion that has fleas, and he's like,
He looks exactly like
Toasty Princess.
yeah.
Roasty Toasty Prince.
Oh no, sorry, he's got termites, not fleas. Forgive me.
What's his character's name? Nuka.
Nuka, yeah.
Okay, Matt, I'll find the photo. Tell me what you think about Dylan Brooks.
I don't know this Nuka guy. It seems like... Oh, okay. Yeah, I can kind of see that.
Oh god.
Oh, that film, man. Too many jokes for that.
He plays like a villain as well. How's Dylan Brooks doing?
To be fair, he's not started off too badly this season. Like, he picked up 24 points against the Nets, and his shooting's not too bad either. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one, isn't it? I think as a team, like, the reason why I picked the Grizzlies was because of Morant. Let's be honest.
Mm.
And he's injured now. He's going to miss about 20 games. That's a lot. So Dylan Brooks, Kyle Anderson, Valanciunas, they need to step up. Hopefully they can. Yeah, see what this termite man can do for us, eh?
Anybody else for any thoughts on the Grizzlies? No. Well, I mean, that says it all, doesn't it?
I've got Jar on my fantasy team, so I'm gutted that he's out. Like, I was buzzing when he scored that 44. I was like, hello, big man on the team. Everything runs through this guy. Like, he's going to be a great pickup, and now he's out for 3 to 5 weeks. And even worse, he's got injured in the first game of the game week. So it's not like now it's just a dead player on my roster.
Poor you, bro. Poor you.
Speaking of the Grizzlies, their first game was against the San Antonio Spurs. So that is where we're going to head to next. House Lasky, how are the Spurs doing?
Go Spurs, go! No, they're doing fine. So they're 2-1. As you mentioned, win against the Grizzlies, win against the Raptors, then loss against the Pelicans, 3-point loss. Yeah, it's not too bad. It's disappointing. There was a little bit of a points drop off, so they went from scoring 130, 119 to 95 against the Pelicans. But just looking at the team, I was looking a bit at how they did last year and trying to read again some of the beat writers, what the thoughts were on the Spurs last year, and it was just consistency was the main thing, consistency and style of play. The offense ran through Lamar and DeMar, as you would expect, and it was heavy ISO balls, which you would expect. And this year, I mean, it's granted it's 3 games like all of us. It's everything we're saying right now is either an overreaction or an under. It's going to be an overreaction because there's not too much we can go off. And they have been pushing the pace a bit more. So they've moved away from ISO, trying to use their athleticism because they've got younger. They've got now Keldon Johnson. KJ, Keldon Johnson, DeJounte Murray, and Lonnie Walker having a bigger impact, and they've still got Derek White to come. So with this youth in their team now, they're able to play harder on defense and run the floor, which is now what the current NBA has become. Pace, space. You just have to ask the Bucks what they think the current NBA is all about. So last year they were actually 15th in the league in terms of pace, where so far this year they're 5th, which is a massive jump considering them. And I think their play style is effectively been a big reason as to why they're 2-1. Can this continue? That would be a big question. And I guess we'll see next couple of games. They played the Lakers 3 times in the next 5 games, which will be really massive and feels very congested. Feels almost like a playoff series, but that should be interesting coming up next couple of weeks before we next talk about the Spurs.
Very, very unlucky to not be 3-0. Actually, that Pelicans game was very tight, but it seemed like neither team wanted to win. It was pretty much no score at the end of that game. You briefly touched on Keldon Johnson. He has started every game since and has actually played really well from the box score. What have you been seeing from him?
So as I mentioned, so that the young core of Keldon, Lonnie, and DeJounte, it's really nice what they can do. They're definitely maturing from where they were last year. And again, this is me not knowing how much they played last year because I didn't watch them that much, but their ability to play defense and get those sort of key turnovers that need to push the pace. And another thing that I've been saying is there's been a lot better ball movement this year compared to last year, which we all know classic Spurs basketball is always about the ball movement and the cutting, which you don't get too much if your offense is running through DeMar and LaMarcus. So with Keldon, it's nice to have someone like that, a playmaker who can play hard on the defensive end and cause those key turnovers and key deflections that can also push the pace in transition. But yeah.
Greg Pop, man, still continues to do it. Incredible coach. If you're not going to win this division, you're definitely going to win one thing, in my opinion, and that is the best statement jerseys. The Spurs City statement jerseys, the all black with the trim, are fire. They're straight fire. Yeah. I think they're up there with the Grizz. But I say the Spurs just edge it because I love like just black, like just a statement black. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. And to be honest, if you want to go head to head with Matt, if you've seen the statement jerseys, I don't know.
I haven't seen that. So you're comparing to the Grizzlies. Oh, the Grizzlies is like the Vancouver ones, right? That's
with the trim.
For. Yeah, let me see it again.
The Spurs City jerseys are fire though.
Yeah, they're like the classic. It was like the first year that they had Timmy that jersey.
It is very retro. It is very retro having that because when you see that, I think the two people you think of is Robinson and Duncan. That's what you automatically think of. It's I'm not a big fan of the font, but yeah, I do like the stripes. It's also I didn't like their camo last year. I thought their camo was super strange.
Yeah, it's whack. I'm with you on that.
Weird.
Should we go from something fire to something so disgustingly ugly? And that is, the Spurs just recently played the Pelicans, and the Pelican City jerseys are probably the worst. They're disgusting.
Oh yeah, they're like half done.
They're white with red and blue trim. Disgusting.
So, do you know? I think they've got it. I think it must be an ode to the French influence in New Orleans. I think that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, like they're doing it all the way throughout their kit. And,
they're trying to do it, but it's not working.
Stuff. But someone needs to tell them.
Yeah,
hey man,
they're trying, all right.
You mailed that one
in. Just see Alex fly over and tell him it's not working, holding up a sign outside the stadium. It's not working.
I'll be in Bourbon Street. I'll be in Bourbon Street with that sign. So George, you got a win against your division rival, as you know. You went 2-2 this week. Mm-hmm. How are you feeling about the Pels?
I think from an outside point of view, it's just fun to watch them play. I think my main concern when it comes to thinking about the Pelicans at this point, because you're seeing that win-loss, I really just want to see more of that consistent flow and then to just basically build up more of that momentum. But even though it's early on, it may be, you can maybe say, it's early season and you could allow it, but you're really eager to see that consistency. So in their first game, it was a win for the Raptors, 113-99, then a loss to the Heat, 111-98. Spurs, they won 95-98. That was a really close game and a good game to watch. I think Bledsoe it was with the game
Yeah.
winning block at the end, which was absolutely insane with that. And latest game was a loss with the 111 to 86. And I mean, if you're looking at the losses, like, you can see that quite a few of them have got that wide margin. And if you start to look at the stats box, what excites me with the Pelicans in terms of the performance and output, when they're performing, you get the key players and the key contributors with your Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, and JJ Redick as well. He's been performing really well for them on occasion, which is great. And the thing is, you see that production alternate. What I would really love to see from them going forward is maybe find that consistency where they're not relying on one person to show up every now and then and go away, but to keep that steady flow throughout going forward.
You speak about relying. If you look at their Suns' loss, that team might be the team that lives and dies by the three the most. They shot 12% from three in that game. And also their two starting backcourt mates, Lonzo Ball and Bledsoe, both had 7 points in 23 and 24 minutes, 0 assists. So we can't rely on Brandon Ingram to be the key facilitator. Yes, he's been doing it at an exceptional rate, and kudos to him. He's got the contract and he's like, yeah, I'm here, you know, and I can do it all. To be honest, he's playing really well. I just worry if they've got a lot of shooters. If that shot isn't falling, are they going to struggle? Yeah,
exactly. But I think having said that, like, the position with Zion, which they're putting him in those plays, helps them. I think when you're watching them, you see that scrappiness in them in terms of helping them, forcing them more to drive towards the basket, take them in and actually help move the defense around a lot more by creating that threat of showing that statement that they're not scared to get in on the ball and play the game, basically.
Have you seen much from Stan Van Gundy, Mr. Dwight? What are you doing? Make a free from. Have you seen much from Stan? I know he's back in the league. He had a little time.
No, I haven't seen much from Stan. I have to admit, I haven't. I'm not going to lie on that.
No, okay, interesting. Well, he's been pretty quiet. I mean, he had obviously a big role for the Orlando Magic. That was a really good team. Potentially a team that could have gone to the finals multiple times. It probably could have beat the Lakers. Be interesting to see what he does. So that wraps up the Southwest. We will have a little break and then hit the Central. And we're back. Okay, so Southwest, done and dusted. Let's move on to the next division, the Central. And we're going to start off with the Milwaukee Bucks. What an interesting week it has been for Giannis and his team. How's Lasku? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. The reason I say that is obviously the most embarrassing. So they went 2-2, lost against the Celtics, 1 point loss. Jason Tatum.
Jason Statham.
As long as I didn't say Channing Tatum, I'm good.
I knew you would go back on me like that.
Jason Statham.
Oh, nothing, Tommy. It's tip top. Sorry.
It's tip top.
Not sure about the colour.
So Jason Tatum hit that shot.
Was that luck, Ed?
Pardon?
Was that luck? I don't think he called it, man.
Yeah, it was luck, but whatever. Like, yeah. You don't get less points for it being luck. It went in, whatever. 100% luck, but he'll say he meant to do it. Celtics loss. Schmacked the Warriors. Schmacked them up.
Killed them. Sorry, Matt. I was looking actually at your teams. You've only got Matt's teams. He's only got one team above 500, and it's the fucking Cavs. That's his only team above 500 that he's got so far, which tells him the state of his teams. And then they lost the Knicks, which I'm not upset about because House Lasky also has the Knicks, so we'll not talk about cannibalism in this organization. And then the final game was we then went and schmacked the other Matt by 50. Holy moly.
So here in the good land in Milwaukee, a couple of things to note. So yeah, 2-2 is a bit disappointing for where the Bucks should be and what they are. But again, the Celtics is where it is. Last second shot, whatever. Knicks game was a little bit worrying, but Knicks did also play out their skin. And one of their top contributors was my old boy Alfred Payton, 24 points, 3 of 3 from 3. Love to see it, my boy Alfred.
Alfred Payton had the game of his life. He was unbelievable in that game.
He's had a couple of those random ass games in Orlando. I think he loves a little triple double near the end of the season. That's his forte. He gets to like 5 triple doubles at the end of the season when no one cares anymore. So I did want to talk a bit about the Heat game, because obviously that broke records in terms of 3 points. So they broke the record for most 3 points ever scored in a game, previously held by the Rockets, who were this is when it was the peak of Daryl Morey's, I like to call them Daryl Morey's Rockets, where it's just layup or freeze. So they did that, and 55% of the Bucks shots against the Heat were 3-pointers, which for the regular season, that is just a lot. But from a purely aesthetic point, it's just not fun to watch a team jack up 51 threes. It's just not fun to watch. Like maybe if you're doing 3-point contest, then it's like fun Steph Curry versus Klay Thompson, but you don't want to see that in a game. And with that, I also noticed that in their 4 games, they've all got at least 10 offensive rebounds, which is really good for their ability for those extra possessions, especially for 3-pointers. Because obviously with 3-pointers, you get longer rebounds, you're able to get more possessions to take those threes. I think we see it all the time. A team can take 3 threes in a row. First 3, miss, rebound, another 3, miss.
You know who's been getting those rebounds, Ed? You know who's been getting those rebounds? It's Bray's boy, BP. Bobby Portis off the bench.
Love BP.
So the reason I also bring up offensive rebounds is their offensive rebound rate last year. They were 26th with roughly 20 offensive. So the percentage, I think, is 20% of offensive rebounds. This year so far, they're second at 28%. So it's a massive jump up. They went from 28th to second in the league in offensive rebounds, which could be massive if you give the Bucks more three attempts. So yeah, that's just want to talk a little bit about the Bucks in terms of them being able to do that. And also another thing on the Heat game, Giannis played 24 minutes. I don't know, unless you know the answer, guess how many points Giannis got. I think Alex already knows the answer. Can anyone guess how many points he got?
She'll have like.
This is nuts.
Pardon?
It's nuts.
I'll ask all 4 of you. Bray, we'll start off with you. What do you reckon?
I should know this because he's in my fantasy team, but didn't he still have like 24 anyway?
Jordan?
Alex.
I'm gonna go 20. I'm gonna go 20.
Wildy?
Who was this against again? Sorry.
Miami, when they scored 144 points. Giannis played 24 minutes.
24 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's a bit of a revenge game for him. I'm going to go 44.
Matt?
I don't know if I've misread this completely, but I think he had a really low-scoring game. Or was that another game where he went low-scoring? I think he must have been, I want to say 9.
Mr. Harris, bingo. He had 9 points in 24 minutes when Milwaukee scored 144 points.
44 points, Wildy.
I didn't see the game, and I was like...
And again, the reason I bring it up is like, shit, Giannis may actually have solid help. Like, no Bledsoe who's going to flame out in the playoffs. I know it's just regular season, but it's long term. No Bledsoe who's going to potentially flame out. They've got Drew Holiday, who can definitely hold his own and is obviously in my opinion, much better player than Eric Bledsoe. You've got DiVincenzo, who's potentially maybe coming when he's got another year. Chris Middleton, who I think potentially got a massive confidence boost last year in the playoffs when Giannis was out and saying, you know what, I can actually carry this team. We did actually perform better with Giannis off the court. And you've got, I'm gonna say him anyway, my old boy DJ Augustine, who wasn't good enough to be a starter, but maybe overqualified as a bench point guard because he can still make plays and he can definitely hit threes. And if that's what Bucks are looking for, I mean, he hit one against the Raptors last year, first game of the playoffs, baby, which we won 2 years ago now. But yeah, does Giannis actually have now consistent help that can help the Bucks maybe go forward in the playoffs? But that's in the future. But anyway, 144 points from the Bucks, only 9 from Giannis. Pretty good.
That game against the Heat, they scored 83 points at the half. They had 46 points in the first quarter, which is ridiculous. Bandwagon Bray, can you? How are you feeling as a Heat fan? You know,
the Bucks they just shot out of their minds. They just shot so well. Like everything was going in for them, and like Middleton's had a really good start to the season. Yeah, obviously as a Heat fan, that's not what they want. They want to play better defense than that. But the Heat have had some bright spots to start the season. I'm still riding. I've got Duncan Robinson in my fantasy team as well. So got fingers and pies. But
people going to know your whole fantasy starting lineup.
Yeah, pretty much. Interestingly though, obviously not a great game for Giannis. This is what is he, 2-time MVP, Defensive Player of the Year as well? Like,
yeah.
What's his saying?
Yo, speaking to someone who said he's going to be MVP this
exactly.
You
caught that, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean,
what do you think
of Giannis's troubles?
Go on, Ed.
At this point, early season, I don't really care. We know what he can do in the regular season. Does it really matter? Like, we're not looking for him to have another repeat of last season. We need him to prove it once it gets to business end. And actually, last thing on the Heat game. To be fair, the Heat didn't have Jimmy Butler either, so I'm not sure how much of a difference that would have made, but still. And what you were saying, Alex, earlier about teams living and dying by the 3 against the Knicks, which I think was a key reason they lost. They took 38 threes and were 18%, which is dreadful. Surely they get to a point where, like, you take about 30 and like, all right, cool, this isn't working. The Knicks took 27 threes and were 60%. I guess part of the reason why they did win, but I'm just annoyed sometimes with the Bucks with just the over reliance on the threes, and it seems very one-dimensional. But yeah, in terms of Giannis, I'm not too worried as of yet.
I just want to put the ball in Matt's court because there was a bit of trash talk, that Ed said to you that how your only team over 500 is Cavs. I just want to give you a chance to respond to House Lasky and give, your side of things just before we move on.
I'd just like to say who's actually top of the Central Division right now. It's not the Bucks, is it, Ed? It's the Cavs. So pipe down.
Keep your faith in Colin Sexton and what's his face, Darius Garland. Let's see how that sounds.
What's his face?
Do you know what, Ed? It's not you. This is like your version of Hoodie Mellow. It's like shades Ed.
he looks like a blind man.
Yeah, these are tinted. I don't have like all black ones. These are all tinted. I need the all black ones. But don't laugh. You ain't above 500. Don't chat to me.
Yeah, it's beginning of the season.
You ain't undefeated.
Wait.
You ain't undefeated. Wildy, you're the only one allowed to talk. Wildy, you're the only one allowed to talk. No, second.
Hell yeah.
Okay, let's head over to one of the franchises, which is quite dear to my heart because of a certain man. Boom, baby. We're heading over to the Indy 500, the home place of Reggie Miller, one of the greatest shooters ever. Bray, how are things in Indianapolis?
They are much different to the picture in Houston. The Indiana Pacers have been playing seriously well. They're 3-1. They've had wins against the Knicks and Bulls, so no major feats there. And then they split games with the Celtics. And your man, Domantas Sabonis, coming up clutch. He has been a man on a mission, 22, 11, and 7. He is basically a poor man's Nikola Jokic, but it's not even that much worse. Like, it's mental. So, yeah, he's been playing really well. And they haven't got a big 3, Indiana. They've got, like, a medium-sized 3. Like, they've got Sabonis, Oladipo, and Brogdon, who, like, together, you go, oh, okay. They're not,
What about the bubble MVP?
Your favourites. But
The bubble MVP.
You forgot the bubble MVP, TJ. What happened to TJ?
Oh. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. But
Are you talking about Warren or McConnell? My man, TJ.
Oh man, but Yeah, so anyway, the Indiana Pacers have been really good. They're getting a combined 60 points out of Sabonis, Depot, and Brogdon, which, you know, their production is just amazing. And with those three all firing, they're just always in the picture every night. And, you know, sometimes I think in that Celtics game that they won, it was the Celtics who lost it when Jason Tatum's bizarre shot selection at the buzzer.
See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, bro.
Absolutely whack, like some of the shots.
Told you.
So, yeah. But Sabonis made his. He made the right decision and he made that shot. So props to him. Interestingly, they've got New York at home and the Pelicans at home in the next week. So see them going 5-1. They're going to be looking really good, I think.
Great. Can I just go back to the Celtics game? You know the dribble handoff Sabonis and one to win the game, right?
Yeah.
How jacked was Sabonis after he made that shot? Bro, he'd been in the gym, boy. You know, it's like he knew that you called him a poor man Jokic. That guy was pumped.
He's been working out in the off season. Fair, like he's absolutely stacked, and he's showing it. Like he did this last season as well, I think. And people kind of forget it because there was the whole Sabonis, Evan Turner, like which one's better? It's obviously Sabonis now. It's basically his team. Like you can't really go too far wrong with it. And the fact that he is a big man who gets assists as well just makes him so much more valuable. So,
sorry, Brad, did you just say Evan Turner?
Yeah, I was going to say, you said Evan Turner, Miles Turner.
Sorry, not Evan. Miles Turner.
Miles Turner.
But Evan Turner, wait, is he on Indiana?
No, he's
coaching. He's a coach, bro.
He's coaching. God, they don't even leave him. Anyway, the other insane thing about the Pacers is they've been scoring like 60 points in the paint every game. Like they have been scoring all of their points in the paint. It's absolutely ridiculous because last season their biggest bugbear was they took a load of mid-range shots and they've stopped that and they're just taking them all in the paint. They still don't shoot too many threes, but and obviously that will tail off. I'm sure we'll see as people will start to get wise to it and force them into taking more mid-range shots, which, you know, incredibly inefficient. But they're looking good, and I think they're probably a lock for the playoffs, to be perfectly honest. I would see them definitely cracking that top 6.
Bray, another thing that I picked out was they've already got like a playoff rotation. The coach only trusts like 8 guys on their rotation. Like their bench does not go deeper. Like the only thing that I've seen is maybe TJ McConnell gets a couple of minutes. You know, he's picking up people full court. I thought it was really interesting. What do you think about that?
The thing I would say there is that they haven't had any back-to-backs yet. They've had rest between each game, which not all the teams have had. I know obviously there's been some like back-to-backs where the team's flown in, played the team twice and then gone, you know, the kind of baseball series style. So I would see that rotation getting deeper as the games start coming thick and fast. But when you've got time for rest, why not? Because, you know, that's the next step for them. They've made the playoffs the last few years, so they really want to see if they can take it to the next step and start really, you know, getting that core to work together properly. And if they've got time for rest, why not? You know, get them playing together. But we will see how that pans out. Obviously, if they try and keep it up through the back-to-backs, they're going to start seeing some fatigue and injury problems. So, which you know, given the shortened season, could even derail their playoff hopes. There are just so many games in such a short space of time. I think all the teams do need to be really careful of that.
Brogdon, Holiday playing really well together, finding chemistry. Hopefully that continues. We're going to go from a Chicago Bulls fan, supposedly, to the Chicago Bulls, and with House of 03. George, how are the Bulls doing? I'm worried about this one, to be honest.
Yeah, so they're 1-3 in the other direction. So last night, I believe they got their first win against the Wizards. So you could imagine I'm happy about that. Sorted out here for the Bulls. But I think at the moment, so let's look at what they've done so far. So they lost their first game against the Hawks. That was a 20-point loss. Then they lost their second game against the Pacers.
How many points did they let concede to Atlanta in that first half? Because if you don't have the answer, I can tell you.
Yeah, tell me the answer. Yeah, wait. 29-42, wasn't it?
No,
Yeah, in the first
83,
half, sorry.
83 at the half. And Trae Young had like 36 and 7 at the half.
37. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Disgusting.
18 minutes,
Insane.
37 points.
Sorry.
Yowzers. That's teammate numbers. That's teammate numbers.
Stomach growling.
Yowzers.
Anyway,
Did wonders for my fantasy.
Oh my God, Kobe White is a turnstile.
What?
Don't listen to this, Brian. Don't listen to this.
Brian, cover your ears.
Jordan, go on, talk to me about the Bulls. Apologies.
And then the third game, they were up against the Warriors, a broken Warriors, but unfortunately they couldn't bring it away. It was a tight game. They gave them a good run, but it ended 128 to 129. So missed out by that final shot, which they couldn't stop. And then, of course, the latest game against the Wizards. I think they're at a point where Levine is really showing out again this season. He does put on really good performances. However, those performances, even though they're great, like they fail to convert in overall results for the team in the end. And I feel like it's at a point where a lot of the members have a lot to prove, like they're trying to test Kobe White in more of that point guard position. But if you like take a step back and look at the way they play with that more team play, like they have flashes of like really good, amazing plays. It's just getting that result in the end, which I'm looking to see, hopefully to build House of 03 back up. But yeah, it's scary times right now.
The Bulls do not look good.
Yeah.
Really don't look good. The Warriors game, I felt like I was watching a battle of the worst teams. Apologies, Matt. It was really bad. And even there was a guy who was reacting to the Warriors Bulls game. He'd obviously like had been watching it, and they play the handoff to Damian Lee, who obviously played last year, but Steph Curry's on the floor. And the guy's like, "What the hell are you doing? Where's Damian Lee?" And he's like, "Oh, he made it. He made it." So that was really funny to watch. Larry Marketing got injured as well. It
was a weird tangle up for that injury.
He's pivotal to at least them winning some games. And I know exactly what Bray's talking about, Kobe White.
I wish Markkanen was on a better team. I think he's wasted there.
Yeah,
I agree. I think he's got potential, but on the Bulls, they can't get him the ball in the right spots. He's obviously I think maybe the pressure's getting to him. He's got to do too much. He's got Levine is a great scorer, but he's not a facilitator. And the biggest thing so far, I think, has been the inconsistent performances across the board. Like Wendell Carter Jr., you never know what you're getting. He might give you 20 and 10, or he might give you 10 and 5. And those two, they're so far apart. And obviously, if your center anchoring you as well, Markkanen is obviously super inconsistent. Otto Porter Jr., just you never know with him. He looks more out of shape than James Harden.
What changes do you want to see from them personally, Bray, going forward?
I think they might have a good thing in their rookie Patrick Williams. Have I got that right?
Yeah, you got it right.
Yeah, 2 first names. It's weird.
I trust the man, 2 first names.
That's the thing that throws Bray off. You know, if the Bray's in the club with Wilt Chamberlain, you know, if he's in the club with Wilt Chamberlain and the girl comes over, she's got 2 first names, he's like, hold on, hang on, we might have a bogey here.
Yeah, it's suspicious. No, but he's actually been really good. You know, I don't think he's going to be doing loads. It's a big ask for someone who's just come into the league and really hasn't played in the last year or so, same as all those rookies. But I would be trying to ride him more and team defense. My God,
that's right.
They suffered so much last year playing this ridiculous blitzing style, which they're no longer doing, but they still haven't worked out how to play defense as a team properly yet. And I think just keep working through the problems. They're going to be bad this year, and maybe try and pick up some assets next year, and then you can maybe look at trading pieces like Levine for some more young players and building out from there.
Whoa, would you trade Zach Levine?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Zach Levine is a classic good stats, bad team guy.
Wow. Okay. I don't think he's been given much of a chance. Like, he doesn't have good tools around him. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I feel bad because he was on the Timberwolves when they had a good young core, but I mean, to be honest, like, didn't really do much, and now he's on the Bulls. He's the man. But who do they have around him? Nothing.
They don't. I mean, look, to be fair, I think if you swapped Zach Levine and Kelly Oubre Jr., you put him on the Warriors, maybe we can probably do a lot more in that situation. But I don't think there are many situations where he thrives. At best, I think he's like maybe slightly better than Austin Rivers on a good team. Like,
Oh, that's a bit harsh.
I mean, he just hasn't. There's no track record with him. That's the problem.
Well, he's doing wonders for my fancy, which is all I care about.
Crossing a view. Let's go from the bad to the
horror,
to the horror awful. D-Town, Detroit basketball.
Detroit basketball.
That's how that sounds. Is how they're playing.
Yeah, what raspy. Man, talk about with two first names that you can't trust. Jeremy Grant. Just joking.
And what was the contract again? How much was the contract?
$60 million over 3 years. Yeah,
very nice. Very nice.
Hang on, no. This is disrespectful to
yeah,
Jeremy Grant. I'm gonna get
done.
into that after.
I'm done. Don't worry. No, I'm just playing. So we'll get there. So yeah, I think Detroit is Jesus. 4-0. 4-0 start. I'm sure any Detroit fan.
0-4. 0-4.
Oh, did I say 4-0? Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
See,
There's only one 4-0. There's only one 4-0.
I was looking at you, Ed. My bad. So I mean, in all seriousness, they've had some close games. Really, they should have won the Cavs game. Went into overtime, and the main thing with these guys is that they're just turning the ball over in crucial points of the game. You look at the Timberwolves game; they lead the game up until the last few minutes in the fourth quarter. They allow the Timberwolves to come back and tie it twice before eventually, the Timberwolves come back. Cat hits the three, and then that's all she wrote. Detroit bring the ball back down. They turn the ball over, multiple times in a row, and then Timberwolves pull away, which is exactly what happened against Cavaliers in the next game. So against those two teams, which really you feel like they should be beating, even though Cavs have the record they have. Sorry, Matt. They're really just beating themselves. Talking about Jeremy Grant, I mean, his averages. He's got 23 and 8, which he is leading them in scoring. I think he's doing well on from the whole game perspective. But he never, even when he was with Denver, he was never that guy that you would go to in closing moments. Yet he said that he wants a bigger role, so he's taken a whole lot of money from Detroit. Which, hey, look, get your money, I'm all for it. But I never really felt him as an imposing guy. You were never scared of him having the ball in the last few minutes from the other team. As a result of that, you've actually got Derrick Rose having the ball in his hands, in those plays. And even though he's very experienced, he's getting these turnovers. And they all are as a team to play. It's just not just on Derrick, but it's not pretty. I mean, it was like 2 or 3 in a row against that Cavs team to put it over into overtime. I think all I will say is that they actually drafted really well. Killian Hayes, he's playing okay, but if I'm honest, I think I actually prefer In terms of a fit, Sadiq Bey has been playing very, very well for them. I think in terms of as a player, he fits a lot better with their team. I feel like he's a bit better than Killian on defense. I think one of the things with Killian is he's going to be a little bit exposed with his speed that he plays at his position. There's so many people at his position that are impossible to guard. It's going to be even more impossible for him. So that's really going to hurt him. And unfortunately, he doesn't have the offensive output of someone like a Trae Young, for example, where even though Trae Young is terrible on defense, he's so good on offense that it kind of balances out. But then you look at Sadiq Bey, he's a lot bigger, his defense is better. He's a great 3-and-D guy, which, whether that was their plan for him, who knows, but he's actually doing really well for them. So I honestly think that, if this plays out the way I'm thinking, Sadiq Bey might have a better NBA career than Killian Hayes at this rate, and that's just
the battle of the rookie.
Yeah, I mean, neither of them are selfish. I don't think it's there's anything to that in house, but it's just an observation from watching these games and watching them lose all 4 of them. But I mean, the thing is they're trying to figure some stuff out, really. I mean, I mentioned that they brought in Plumlee. That's another guy, obviously, they've brought in. They're paying him $8 million a year for 3 years. He's actually great. I mentioned when I picked them that they brought him in so that they can, minute manage Blake Griffin. And, I mean, Plumlee is the best guy for that. He's played 94% of all of his games since he joined the NBA. So if you want to talk about a guy that's reliable and is going to be on the floor for you when they need to rest Blake, he's going to be there. And he's been playing some solid minutes for them. I mean, a lot of people scratch their heads with that contract, but, it is what it is, and they had the money to spend, so they wanted to do some stuff. I mean, again, the record is terrible. Their next 4 games is 2 against the Heat and 2 against the Bucks. So wow. I mean, by the time I talk about these guys again, I hate to think what their record might be. All I can say is that, hey, maybe in the first game against the Heat and the Bucks, they figure some stuff out and, pinch one in the second game of both of those. That's all I can cross my fingers for, really. But I am on a positive. Josh Jackson, averaging 17 points for them so far. He's actually playing really, really well. I really like what he's doing. He's been really aggressive. Really good guy. It could be a breakout season for him if he continues like this. The highest he's averaged before is 13 points. He's currently averaging 17. It's 4th year in the league. And, he's doing this.
It's good because he was on his way out of the league and he's found his way back in. And he's really taken that chance, like I saw in the first game where he got major minutes, 27 points off the bench.
Yeah.
The next game, he moves into the starting lineup. One thing I say about Killian Hayes, he looks like he's really struggling, like big time. He's got an opportunity, but he seems, like you said, it's not a good fit. Hopefully he figures it out. Does anybody have any thoughts about the Pistons, what they need to improve on?
I would just like to cut Derrick Rose some slack on those 2 turnovers at the end of the Cleveland game. The guy who forced those was Andre Drummond, who I'm sure we're going to talk about next, but is a defensive monster. So I can't blame him for that. I don't think at this point in his career you would really be expecting him to be the guy dictating that last shot. It's just not who he is anymore. So fingers crossed, one of the young guys can step up for Detroit and maybe take some more of that.
Go, you guys.
No, you go. I'm transitioning to this.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying, but they talk about every team always talks about having a veteran presence. So in these tough moments, that there aren't things like silly turnovers in the last minute. So I get what you're saying at this point in his career. I appreciate that, but that's not what the front office of Detroit are thinking. They're thinking, hey, this guy, the youngest MVP ever, and now that he's a lot older, fair enough. He might not be what he was, but he needs to be making better decisions than that so he can show the young guys how to do it for when he isn't playing. I'm not I'm glad you cut some slack because I don't want to seem like I'm bagging him on too much. Because I mean, in that first game against Timberwolves, he played so well; it was brilliant. And unfortunately, he just didn't shoot well from that point. Yeah, he 7 of 13 was in the first game, and he was looking really good. And then it dropped off to 14 of 15, and then 16 of 18, and it's just, yeah. Again, there's none of them have much help for one another, so it can be hard to find that space because he's not an amazing deep range shooter, so it's very clogged. But we'll see what they can do. But talking about that schedule as well, in a 70-game season, if you lose your first 4, and let's face it, best case scenario, they're probably only going to win 2 of their next 4. But, I mean, I can't see them making the playoffs and making a push because once they start playing some of the other teams in the West Coast, it's just not going to be. They're not going to have enough games to make it up.
It's looking very good.
Yeah.
So let's go from one end of the spectrum back to the positive end. Probably one of the most surprising teams of this week. Matt, I'm really pissed because I stayed up to watch that damn Philly game, and we got absolutely spanked. No, I don't even want to be too graphic. We just got destroyed. I'm not even going to go there. The Cavs 3-1 this week. Our own friend Sam Jones he's been a Cavs fan. He's not even got faith in his own team. But here they are. They're 3-1. How are you feeling?
Feeling great. Like Ed said before, yeah, they might be my only team that's above 500 right now, but excuse me, the Cavs, in theory, will be my worst team out of my roster, but they're actually doing the best, so I'll take that. You've got to take the positives where they come. Game 1, win against the Hornets. Game 2, that double overtime win against the Pistons, as we've just been mentioning. Game 3, you just touched on it, spanking the Sixers. And then just that loss in the last game against the Knicks, unfortunately. But it seems to be that what's been driving the Cavs' results of late has been the defense, really. They've got the 3rd best defensive efficiency in the league. They've got 51 steals, 10 more than the next highest team. And even with regards to shooting as well, before the Knicks game, they were the best 3-point shooting team in the league. Unfortunately, in that Knicks defeat, they only shot 21% from 3. But, that was just an off night. They're playing well. And they're 3-1.
3-D, baby. 3-D. Really interesting stats. I feel like the Cavs' chemistry is really strong. I mean, just from an outsider looking in, it seems like a lot of players, I mean, I know they're not in the best scenario, but a lot of players are pulling for each other. You've got, I don't even like this nickname that they've given, but Sexton and Garland apparently called Sexland. That's their backcourt nickname. I'm not really a fan of that, but I mean, I'll go with it because they're playing really well. In the Sixers game, we had Embiid out, and Drummond absolutely destroyed us. He's obviously a fantasy stud. He grabs board everywhere. The only bit he doesn't do well in is free throws. What have you been seeing? Who's been a standout player on the Cavs so far?
To be fair, like you said, the chemistry in general, but Andre Drummond is a standout player so far. He's been getting loads of rebounds, 17 rebounds against the Knicks, 14 against the Sixers, 16 against the Pistons, whilst chipping with points as well. He's got over 20 points in most of the games he's played as well. He's been a standout, but as well, Larry Nance Jr. in that first win against the Hornets, he was only 2 assists shy of a triple-double.
Ooh.
So
playing like his daddy.
People chipping in left, right, and centre. There's Colin Sexton's getting plenty of points on the board. It's a good vibe right now in Cleveland.
Matt, you're missing one person, and there's my man, JaVale McGee. JaVale McGee. How is he doing?
I said I wouldn't do him again. JaVale McGee.
JaVale McGee. Where are you going?
McGee's been playing pretty well too, to be fair to him, but I'm not going to touch on him too much. But to be fair to the guy, he's been playing pretty well.
Hit 3 against Philly.
I want to ask, all this is being done without Kevin Love as well. Surely that'll add another element to their game. Having Kevin Love being able to space the floor and what he can provide with outlet passes with a young team as well. that could be quite low-key fun when Kevin Love comes back, but it will be a month. Bray, as always, Salt Bray isn't happy with anything.
Okay, look at Kevin Love. Kevin Love post after LeBron's left. What has Kevin Love done after LeBron's left Cleveland?
That was going to be my second point in terms of how much of an effect was last year's coach did that have on the team. Like, they seem to be complete night and day from what they were last year to what they are this year as well. Like, that's just another thing that I don't think has been mentioned too much of. But yeah, that was just my 2 quick thoughts on the Cavs.
Even with the games going forward as well, like, they obviously the 3 wins they've had so far, 2 of them have been against the Hornets and the Pistons, who aren't exactly the strongest teams in the NBA. And the next 2 games are against the Pacers and the Hawks. They're a test. Then it's back-to-back against the Magic, who are obviously 4-0 at the moment. So
they're rolling.
So yeah, it could go either way. Like, if they keep the momentum going through these games, fantastic. But there's also just as good of a chance that they could drop a few. So it's going to be interesting with the Cavs. But I'm feeling really positive about them.
That's good, man. Cavs is a feel-good story. You know, it's just annoying. You know, they've had a lot of luck with the draft lottery. I'm a bit salty about that. You know, LeBron's been there, and now they're doing well. But in terms of JB Bickerstaff, he was on the Cavs last year as an assistant, so maybe it's a thing of the wrong person was in charge. Who knows? Who knows? Thank you all for your thoughts. That concludes the Central. Let's take a quick break, and then we will go into Shoot Your Shack.